Hey everyone, before we begin, I just want to give a quick shout out for my online shop. You can go to www.adakai-tcg.com to check out all the latest custom cards that I've been working on for the One Piece card game. I do both custom leaders and Dawn sets as well. In particular, I want to feature the newest Dawn set that I re-released. It is the Luffy will be king, where each straw hat is proclaiming that Luffy will be king of the pirates. And so this will be a made to order as well, so there will be a limited time this will be in production. And so don't miss out on it if you like the card and you want to get a set for yourself, because production will be limited to a certain time frame that this will be available for. And so grab it while you can. And so if you guys see here, the card quality is also increased. We are now able to offer textured foil and print onto a higher quality card as well. And so the cards look even more beautiful in person. So if you guys like what you see, make sure to grab it before it's too late. But we'll go back to the video now. Hey everyone, I also wanted to announce some cool news. I recently partnered with Whatnot and am now officially an affiliate. For those of you who don't know, Whatnot is an awesome shopping platform that enables anyone to turn their passions into a business. Here you can find tons of live streams featuring the products that you love, including One Piece boosters, singles, and slabs. Plus, if you use the link in the description below, you can receive $10 free. Make sure to check it out so you don't miss out. Hey everyone, adakai TCG here, and I'm coming at you guys with another video. This time it's not going to be a One Piece TCG video, but we're going to take a little bit of a sidetrack into the One Piece TV series and manga, and I'm going to be doing a tier list video on the emotional moments of One Piece. And so, to no one's surprise, I'm a huge fan of One Piece. I've been watching and reading for 20 years. Man, some of these characters, some of the stories that Oda has written throughout the series have just been so impactful. And so I saw other YouTubers doing this emotional tier list, and I wanted to rank it myself as well. And so I found this tier list on Tier Maker. It was done by a user named Placid Sauce, so you can, if you guys want to see it, you guys can find it right there as well. And so I think the emotional moments go up until Wano, or part of Wano it seems like. And I just wanted to go ahead and rank some of these. And as I was going through some of these moments, just to review what they were, man, I just realized, this continues to reaffirm how strong of a writer Oda is. How some of these things I can just look at the picture and I'm brought right back into that moment of, the feels, And so, let's get right into it. We're gonna go through the tiers. The top of the top is the still recovering. This is scenes that and parts of the stories that, when I think about it, it still messes me up. I get emotional every single time, and I still am a hot mess even just thinking about it. And so that is the top of the top. I'll be very selective about what I put in there, but again, I am a sort of emotional crybaby when it comes to watching shows and TV series. I tend to be a little bit more emotional and get very invested. And so just to give you a barometer of who I am as a viewer, but I will still try to be very selective of what I put in Still Recovering. The one below that is Gets Me Every Time. This is anytime I watch the series, rewatch it, watch clips, I will be in tears when I see those scenes. And so there are some things that'll just bring me right back, and it'll just get me messed up. The one below that is Allergy Season. So tears in my eyes, sniffles in the nose, could be allergies, could be emotions, who's to say? And then we have Tickles in the Feels. So this is stuff that definitely felt it inside my heart, but wasn't enough to elicit any outward emotion And then the last one being I'm a Robot. Just didn't work for me. Just maybe I couldn't relate, or maybe they're just I'm a robot. And so let's go ahead and get started. I think it's sequenced in chronological order too, which is very nice. And so let's go ahead. First being Shanks sacrificing his arm for Luffy. Ooh. Okay. So this scene, man, so iconic. It honestly is one of the first scenes that got me really invested into One Piece. It's not the one scene that made me go all in on One Piece, but it definitely was very, very iconic for me. It's interesting because the first time watching it through, reading it through, like, it actually wasn't as impactful as it was on the rewatches, you know? Once we get more context on who Shanks is as a person and who Luffy is as a person, when you go back and rewatch it then, it's just like, oh man, this is a sacrifice, and this is just like, it just sets up so much trajectory for Luffy as a character and his development. I'm gonna put it in. I'm between Gets Me Every Time and Allergy Season. For now, I'll put it in Allergy Season because, again, my first watch through, it didn't have as much of an impact on me because I just didn't have the context of what it was setting up for the characters. But definitely, I might bump it up to Gets Me Every Time because I was rewatching some of these scenes just to refresh myself on what was happening during some of these screenshots, and I get pretty emotional during that scene. So the next one being the dog from the Buggy arc. Oh, anything to do with animals and their owners. And I was quite young the first time I watched this through, and it was very sad to me, but I'm gonna put Allergy Season. I definitely do remember tearing up a little bit. I do have a soft spot for both old people and animals, and so this backstory kind of has a combination of both, and so yeah, definitely an Allergy Season for me. But yeah, let's move on. Let's go to the next scene being Zoro after he lost a Mihawk and took that slash like a man, almost died from it. But this is when he's crying and promising Luffy that he'll never lose again. This promise felt so sincere. Zoro's been one of the toughest characters. To see him, I have a soft spot for seeing guys that I don't think will cry. And so seeing him being emotional like this, it did get me, but I think Allergy Season is also where I need to put it. I swear there'll be other ones, but so far the first three, definitely Allergy Seasons. Baratier, Sanji leaving the Zeph, and him thanking them. So again, I think the first time I watched this through, I was quite young, and it didn't impact me as much. But the older I get, this scene just keeps. I think it just resonates more and more, you know. And so I'm gonna do It Gets Me Every Time. Yeah, just there. I love Sanji's and Zeph's relationship. And I guess this is more recency bias, but knowing Sanji's true backstory and then kind of rewatching this scene, it just means so much more. Oda has a great way of revealing more about a character later on in the series, and then it just recontextualizes the earlier parts of the series, and man, this is quite an emotional one. Belmere getting shot by Arlong. This is after Belmir didn't have enough money, but she didn't want to say to Arlong that she didn't have daughters. She wanted to make sure that her 2 adopted daughters knew that they were her daughters and that she was their mother. And because of that, Arlong took her life. Ah, man, yeah, that was quite emotional. Man, these are all. Yeah, I'm gonna put this in allergy season. No, it has to go and get to me every time. Yeah, no. Just the heart behind Belmir and just her love for Nami and her sister, who I can't even remember the name of right now. Yeah, it's a very emotional moment. She's such a cool character, so tough. But yeah, it was more important for her to convey that love and acknowledgement to Nami and Nami's sister. It's such a cool moment in One Piece, and so I'm gonna put that in Get to Me every time. The Luffy help me. So, this scene gets me every time. Yeah, it's gonna be the very top of Gets Me every time. This is when I knew I was all in on One Piece, and I think it's similar for everyone too. But during that part where she's just like in desperation and anger and frustration, like stabbing her arm to get that Arlong tattoo off of it, and then when Luffy just comes by, stops her from hurting herself, and puts the hat on her, and she just remembers how much the hat means to Luffy and what that symbolism is when he puts it on her, and she finally asks him for help after telling him to go away. Oh, dude! And then when the guys are just all walking towards Arlong Park, dude. Yeah, this is One Piece to me. This is when I knew, hey, I'm in. I'm a Straw Hat. Yeah, definitely high end of Gets Me every time. Super emotional. Anytime I watch that scene, it gets me. I have to hold back tears if I'm watching with other people, and so yeah, very very good. The Laboon. Honestly, again, I do have a soft spot for animals, and his knowing his backstory, and then knowing he's like hurting himself, killing himself, trying to break the mountain with his head. It is quite emotional, but I'm gonna have to put it in Tickles in the Feels. Yeah, it was emotional, but it didn't quite hit me in the same way as some of these other scenes. Moving on to Drum Island, we have Dr. Hirluk. Can never pronounce his name, but yeah, his backstory was interesting too, with Chopper and the poison that basically he ate from Chopper. It was quite sad. I'm trying to remember how I felt when I was watching this, but I do remember I was still quite young when watching this, and I think it did still hit me. But I'm gonna put it in the top of Tickles in the Feels. Maybe that's a controversial opinion. Maybe I need to go back and rewatch Drum Island's arc because it was such a long time ago. But again, I think that part of it was Tickles in the Feels. The cherry blossom blossoming, I'm gonna put in Allergy Season because I do distinctly remember when Chopper sees it and realizes what the doctor was doing this whole time, and just the hope and restoration it was bringing, and him crying. Man, that hit me. And I remember tearing up and sniffing a bit watching that for the first time. So let me reorder some of these. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Vivi goodbye with the ex. This is a super, super iconic moment where Vivi can't go with the crew. She is going to stay in Alabasta and fulfill her duties as the princess. And because the Navy's listening and watching, and to protect Alabasta, like, the crew couldn't shout back and reaffirm their love for Vivi, but they had the X's to symbolize who they were and the crew they were and the friendship that they had together to mark, basically just to not get tricked by Bone Clay. Man, this was an emotional moment, but I think I get some hate for this, but I didn't tear up. I didn't really cry. I remember feeling a little sad, but it didn't quite hit me in the same way. So I'm gonna put it at the top of Tickles in the Feels, I think. Yeah, I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate in the comments for that, but yeah, it just it was a great scene. I think it was a very impactful scene, but as far as eliciting an emotional response from me, yeah, I don't think I really felt too much. Nolan, the liar, who we know isn't a liar, but just had very unfortunate luck. You know, this is a very underrated part of the story. I did a rewatch, maybe like 2 years ago, and I remember the first time watching Skypiea, I wasn't that impressed, but on the rewatch, I enjoyed it a lot more, you know? Well, granted, I was able to skip around some scenes that I knew that weren't as important, but the Nolan scene and just him and Calgara's friendship, it actually impacted me more than I remember. It's gonna be contradictory, but I'll put this in allergy season, dude. I remember tearing up a little bit, you know? Yeah, I think, yeah, just the sheer, like, he wasn't lying, but he still died for it, you know? And then in the end, he missed his friend. He was wondering if his friend was okay. Yeah, it hit me a little bit in the feels. Then we got the Usopp Luffy conflict. This is when they were deciding what to do, whether they needed to replace the Going Merry and get a new ship, but Usopp didn't want to, but Luffy knew that they had to, and then they had the conflict. I think this conflict was done very, very well. It was beautifully written. But as far as my emotional feels, it didn't hit me in the same way as some of these other scenes. So I'm going to have to put in Tickles in the Feels. Again, I think the story was very well written. I think the conflict was very well written. But yeah, it just didn't do it for me. This is Robin's backstory. Oh, so everything about this backstory, I don't have to put this in Gets Me every time. I'm pretty high up, actually. So maybe ahead of Baratier. So this is when, this is Robin's backstory as a child, how she just wasn't really loved by her, didn't have a great home life because her mom wasn't there. She was like, I think she was staying with her aunt or something like that. And then she had a kind of found family with the scholars, and they accepted her and loved her, but then they all got killed. Oh, and then there was Saul, who was nice to her, but he got killed. And when she finally sees her mom, I think the part where she finally sees her mom, and she's just like, do you remember me? I'm a little bit bigger now, but, you know, I'm your daughter. That just gets me, you know? Like, she has just been so longing for connection and for love and acceptance, and just everywhere she was turning, those that did accept her died. And then, it's just so sad. Like, when I got to the scene again, I was like, dang. Again, I think this is oddly, because I was rewatching it as I was older, it just hits different, maybe just life experiences, but man, that her backstory is tragic, and it gets me every single time. Oh, the I Want to Live, dude, these are so iconic. Gets me every time. It's right back to back. I'm gonna put those, her backstory and the I Want to Live part, right next to each other. Her finally just saying, she wants to live. She wants to not just be condemned to die, just for the things that she knows. Oh, so good. That arc was also one of my favorite arcs, the Water 7 and its lobby. I kind of consider them the same arc because they're kind of one big story. But man, it was such a cool moment. This is the other moment that I'm just gonna put it ahead. Okay, yeah. So this is the other moment that I was just like, I'm very, very, very all in. First was like the Luffy help me, and then it's the I Want to Live. Those are two moments that even when I think about it now, I just get goosebumps. So yeah, gets me every single time. The Usopp and Luffy reconciliation. So this is after that arc ends and the crew's leaving Water 7, and they're all kind of ignoring Usopp because they're not going to accept him back on the crew until he apologizes. And then finally, Usopp apologizes for everything he does, and Luffy's crying, Usopp's crying, everyone's crying. It was good. It was good. But I don't think I was crying. I think everyone in the Straw Hats were crying but me. But I do acknowledge it was a very well written conflict and very well written resolution. So I'm gonna put it next to the conflict part of Tickles and the Feels. Yeah, that seems about right. Ooh, the Going Merry. Oh, dude, I don't even know how Oda got me so attached to a ship. It's a ship, but it was part of the crew. It gets me every time. This scene is just... So this is the Going Merry finally burning up, and after it delivered the Straw Hats out of Enies Lobby one last time, and it finally rusting into the sea. That was... I didn't know that I could get so attached to a ship. But yeah, no, it was another iconic moment in One Piece. It's another moment that if I were to watch YouTube clips again, it would just re-invoke all those feelings. Yeah, very, very good. The Brook backstory. Brook's backstory is so tragic. Yeah, it's just so sad to see your crew dying one by one. His backstory is incredibly sad, like him not being able to fulfill his promise to Laboon, and then just wandering in the sea alone with your dead crewmates for 50 years. My gosh, I wouldn't want to wish that on anyone. But I'm gonna put that in Allergy Season. I remember tearing up, but again, I think at this point I wasn't quite as invested into Brook. But it definitely is a very, very sad trap backstory for sure. Which one is this? Oh, okay, so this is Shaburdi Park, where Luffy couldn't save anyone from Kuma sending them all away. Yeah, it was quite emotional, but I don't think it really hit me quite as much. Maybe because I knew, like, they were all going to be okay and all reunite again. Yeah, it was like more of a tickles in the feels for me. It was kind of sad to see Luffy just like desperately trying to just save at least one of his crewmates, but again, it didn't really elicit all those emotions from me. Bone Clay. This is an Impel Down, the sacrifice that Bone Clay made. And Satisfaction. Oh, dude, this character, I went from being so whatever about Bone Clay to like just, he is one of my favorite characters. Hats off to him. I'm gonna say allergy season. Very emotional. We don't know what happens to him. Maybe we do. Maybe I just missed it, but it's twice now he sacrificed for friendship. He's a true friend to the Straw Hats and Luffy. He is just a fantastic guy. Love Bone Clay. Ace dying. Okay, this is I'm still recovering from this, guys. I think this is my first one from still recovering. The scene just all around after he gets punched by a Kainu, Luffy's reaction to it, everything around that part, just like, it gets to me. Like, and then maybe I'm reading too much into the scene, but like, when I think about like Luffy's reaction, when I think about the crew's reaction to not being there for Luffy in the time that Luffy needs them, and then when Ace is like, thank you for loving me, because he felt unlovable just because of who he was, whose son he was. Oh man, that was... Whew. I'm like tearing up right now, but I can't think about it too much. It's just too much, you know? And yeah, even revisiting Wano when Otama's like, where, you know, she knows Ace, and Luffy's like, Ace is dead, he's gone, and Otama's going through that suffering too. It brought up all that trauma for me too, you know? Like, damn, it's crazy. Whew, yeah, it just it still gets to me whenever I think about it. I'm still not okay. That scene is just so powerful. One of the best arcs of One Piece too. And then Whitebeard dying. This was a good scene too. I'm gonna put it, gets me every time. Him protecting his sons. Just everything about Whitebeard. That guy's a man, you know. He's everything I hope I am when I'm a grandpa. So good. So much love, so much forgiveness, you know. Just going all out to save his son, you know. But yeah. Whew. Sabo's perceived death. Dude, this was a tickles in the feels. No, this is I'm a Robot. Bro, I was not invested in Sabo when I first heard his backstory. I was just like, bro, who even are you? I mean, I love Sabo now. Like, don't get me wrong, he's actually grown to be one of my soft spot characters. I love it every time he's in the series and every time he's in the movies. But when I first saw him here, I'm like, who is this guy? And I was like, bro, we just came out of this emotional moment with Ace, and I've been invested in Ace since, you know, Alabasta. This was like many years ago, and then now I'm like introduced to this other character who just dies. But I didn't have enough time to process Ace's death, and then I didn't have enough time to like get attached to Sabo either. Maybe if it was later on in the series and I don't know, but, or maybe even earlier in the series, I don't know, but I just couldn't get attached to Sabo at that time. But again, caveat, I do really like Sabo as a character now. I still have my crew allergy season, top of the allergy season for me. Definitely teared up. Definitely was an emotional moment. Just seeing Luffy broken up so much over Ace's death. It's still heartbreaking, but it definitely tears up, but it's not quite. It gets me every time for me. Oh, Curly the Dan. Curly the Dan's reaction to Ace's death. Again, this is one that's like the older I get, the more it hits me, you know? Like, I was rewatching the scene. I don't think I cried the first time, but on the rewatch, man, it just hits a little different. I'm gonna put an analogy season 2. She was tough on them, but she actually loved them, you know? And so, seeing her cry, again, I hate seeing tough people cry, you know? When tough people cry, those are real tears, you know? And so, man, it was good. The Fisher Tiger, where he needed a blood transfusion, but he couldn't get it, or he refused to get it from a human because, man, his hatred ran so deep, and yet he didn't want to pass that hatred on to the next generation. He wanted harmony, but for him, as a person, it was too much to bear with the history that's been there. That's just some real stuff. Oh man, that was an analogy season for me, I think. Maybe towards the lower ends of it, but yeah, it's just such a real emotion, right? Like, you know what you want for the future, and yet because of the past that's hurt you, you feel like you can't do that at this time. But he so wanted the next generation to not be like him, you know. Very, very, very good writing. Very real topics. I think it really captures a part of the darker parts of society and the world so well, you know. And part of the struggle and the emotions of that, right? And so, yeah, very, very good. The Ori, this is the Shirahoshi's mom. I can't remember her name. Her dying. I'm gonna put Tickles in the Feels. Probably a little bit lower. It was sad, I think, but honestly, I don't quite remember being too emotional. And even when I did the rewatch, I wasn't that emotional. It's a sad story, but it still didn't hit me that way. And so, I think it feels right being in the lower end of Tickles in the Feels. The kids in Vegapunk, or Punk Hazard. You guys are gonna judge me. I'm a robot, dude. It was like sad, and it's a messed up situation, but it didn't elicit emotions from me, you know, like I didn't get sad over, like super sad over it. It was more like, I was like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? Like, how are they gonna help these kids? Like, have I messed up? No, definitely, like, the theme was dark. It was, again, Oda touching upon some darker parts of society. But as far as the actual characters, I just didn't have that emotional attachment and stuff. Luffy realizing Sabo's alive, just as Dressrosa. I think I'm between I'm a Robot and Tickles in the Feels. Again, at this point, I wasn't even that. I don't know if I'm a Robot. Like, maybe the top end of I'm a Robot. Oh no, end of Tickles in the Feels. Anytime I see Luffy crying, it elicits some reaction from me, just because I love Luffy. But yeah, again, like Sabo was, I was like, who are you? Who are you even? You know. But I was happy for Luffy to see him understanding and seeing that his brother was still alive, you know. And so, the Kiros unable to save his wife. Dude, that's allergy season for sure. I don't know where an allergy season this is, but this is so sad. That whole backstory is tragic. The toy soldier, Rebecca, what happened to Dressrosa. So much tragedy happened there. I definitely tear up remembering the backstories, but seems right about there. This is the Law childhood story. This childhood story is definitely an allergy seasons for me. Very sad, very tragic. Just seeing how much suffering he went through. With the disease and the government not caring and them just trying to like wipe out everyone from that island. It's brutal, you know. And then just seeing what it did to Law as a kid, just the hatred it instilled in him. Very, very sad. But yeah. Oh, Corazon. This is a still recovering. Another one of my favorite characters. Everything about the scene around his death, him just using his devil fruit ability to silence the box that Law was in and allow him to cry and just be as loud as he wanted, and just Corazon trying to hang on to live, just to allow Law to grieve. The amount that he just loved Law and wanted to cure him and do everything he could in his power to make that happen. Oh, so good. Such love, such sacrificial love. Yeah, any sacrificial love, man, it just it's just still messes me up. Let's go on. This is the I think this guy's the drawing from the one that the dragon that was climbing Zoe. This is the one that I can't remember that guy's name. The Wano paint samurai trader drew, but I know this is like a kind of a running meme joke, but I'm a robot, dude. It was cute and it did its best. And man, that Wano samurai is a jerk. He could have drawn something that could have easily brought them up to the top, but anyway, this guy. I'm a robot. I just didn't see it. I didn't really feel for him. It's just the drawing. Come at me, bro. The Doflamingo backstory. Probably like a tickles in the feels. It's actually a really tragic backstory. It explains so much of why Doflamingo is the way he is, and it does show the cycle of hatred that occurs. But yeah, I don't remember being super, super emotional watching it. But I remember it is very well written and it explains so much of who Doflamingo is and as a character. The Sanji backstory. They were really mean to Sanji. But I'm gonna put a tickles in the feels. I don't know why. It's just that I think when I was watching it, like, I remember feeling very sad and bad for him, but it didn't like make me tear up or anything. It's just like I just remember feeling like, dang, you had a rough childhood, bro. Like, no wonder why you don't want to acknowledge your last name. But the part with the mom does hit a soft spot in my heart, but again, it wasn't enough to make me cry. The Sanji pudding incident where he finds out Pudding is a lying, wild woman. Again, kind of tickles in the feels. Maybe further back. I wasn't quite invested in their relationship, and so it just didn't hit me as much. Moving on. This is the other Sanji part where this is after he beats up Luffy, and just like beats Luffy to an oblivion, and then goes back in the carriage, and he's crying because it just hurt him so much to do those things. Again, I think it's a tickles in the feels for me. It was a pretty emotional moment, but it didn't really make me tear up a little bit. And so, it's just a tickles in the feels. The Pedro sacrificing himself. This is where he blows himself up, trying to take out Perospero. Manages to take out his arm, but again, I think because of all the false deaths in One Piece, and we didn't see the body, I thought that he'd still be alive, honestly, like just somehow, miraculously. And so, I mean, it didn't really quite hit me as hard. So I'm gonna put tickles in the feels. He was a kind of cool character, but like, I wasn't like super invested into him, and I wasn't like exactly sure if he was dead or not, and so yeah, just the tickles in the feels. The next one is Sanji crying and admitting to Luffy he wants to go back to the crew. He feels helpless, and he hates his Vinsmoke family, but he doesn't want to leave them to die to the Big Mom Pirates, because they know that the Big Mom Pirates were planning on betraying them. So Sanji crying didn't do anything for me, but actually, when I was rewatching the scene to remember what this part was about, Luffy's reaction got to me, actually. It was... So after Sanji's crying like this and saying, like... And Sanji's kind of confused because, like, he wants to go back to the crew, but he doesn't want to leave his family to die, even though he hates his family and doesn't even consider them his family. And Luffy just smiles and goes, of course, because that's who you know, that's so you, that's who you are, you know, like. And then he agrees to help Sanji. That part gets to me, actually. I found myself tearing up during that part. I'm like, dang, just the forgiveness and the acceptance, and it was like this redemption for who Sanji is as a person, right? Like, that very softness was what the Vinsmoke family rejected Sanji for so long. But then that very characteristic is like kind of what Luffy accepts and loves about Sanji and is willing to go to bat for Sanji for. And so, man, I'm gonna put this to allergy season. Just because Luffy is... he's just the GOAT, dude. Luffy's the GOAT. Oh, this guy, the porcupine head guy from Wano. Oh my gosh. Everything revolving his backstory. Oh man, it gets me. It gets me, dude. I was a mess, actually. From the moment he ate the smile fruit, after his daughter ate the smile fruit, just the reveals that he did and his death. Oh, Oda. I don't know how you make me so emotional all the time, but it's a very powerful character, very powerful scenes. Love it, love it. Going on to... I don't remember what this scene is. Let me take a quick gander at it. Okay, we're back. So, I had to look up the scene again because I could not remember for the life of me what this Hiyori scene was. But this is after Hiyori reunites with Kawamatsu, and this is when we find out that, you know, she was Hiyori all along and not just the geisha. And so this was a little bit tickles in the feels, low ends. I remember feeling a little bit emotional. She did have a very tragic backstory, but I don't remember tearing up quite much. Obviously, I don't remember tearing up because I couldn't even remember the scene. And so, yeah. Odin burning, boiling. Yeah, this was allergy season for sure. Yeah, just this was a very powerful scene. Him lifting up the scabbard so that they did not boil, and him just sacrificing himself for the ones that he loved, and for the good of Wano. Very, very powerful. I did tear up. Odin is one of my favorite characters from yeah, just he's amazing. Very cool guy. Yeah, going on, we have Nami, who will not admit to Ulti, or not say the things that Ulti wanted her to say, you know, like she was like basically making her say that Luffy will not be the king of the pirates, it'll be Kaido. But man, I have a newfound respect for Nami during the scene. Because even in imminent death, you know, like she knew if she admitted that if she didn't say what Ulti wanted her to say, Ulti would just kill her. And she was so outmatched, you know. It wasn't even close. And so, but her just believing in Luffy, oh, dude, allergy season. Anytime, the other part that always gets me in One Piece is whenever the crew has unwavering trust in each other, you know? Unwavering trust and unwavering belief in one another, and that is, ooh, this is a good moment too. And the very last one we have here is Kinemon. I believe this is after he's beat up and is asking Luffy for help. Very powerful scene, I remember. Yeah, I'm gonna put it in Allergy Season 2. Yeah, One Piece is great. Look at this, guys. There's just so much. Man, every time I'm watching One Piece, it seems to be allergy season, right? But yeah, this is my tier list. I thought it'd be really fun to do. There's some iconic moments here. I wish there were some others that this tier list was missing. Some of the callouts being like Senior Pink. Oh, dude, that backstory always gets me too. There are just so many emotional moments throughout One Piece. You can't quite capture them all. The tier list would be too long, but these are just some of the ones. And this is a pre-made one, so kind of wanted to do it for fun. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. If you guys have any differing opinions on where you would rank these, maybe a certain scene that I rank low is very, very meaningful to you. I would love to hear about it. Or yeah, just let me know in the comments below what some of your favorite emotional moments were in One Piece. I always love talking and reminiscing about the story, and so yeah. As per usual, thanks for tuning in. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and be on the lookout because I'll be releasing a lot more One Piece TCG content in the near future. And yeah, catch you guys later.